we couldn't see. We were limited as what we could do, and what we could become. Tell you the truth, at that time,
Yeah.
we had no idea. Here, all of us set up here in biology and had all them, all these courses and stuff. We could have easily gone into medical school or something. You know what I mean?
You know, the funny thing, all of us took biology, right? And we was, all of us in Page Jackson School, and the biology lab wasn't no lab.
Worst
in the
in the nation.
Didn't even have gas before a Bunsen burner. Didn't even have the beakers. And here we all in the
Yes,
biology.
sir. I don't know what. I don't have an idea. And here you got people like Rhodey Butler, veterinarian, and Earl, the doctor in pharmaceutical medicine, and Bernie in virology, and Don in pathology, and yet we didn't have nothing. Now, why is that?
Well, Mr. Dandridge taught it all.
Yeah.
And I guess he was the inspiration. Had to have been the
But
inspiration.
what did we have in the classroom that would influence us?
I don't know. I guess nobody wanted to be a...
Did you ever dissect the frog?
Never.
Never. Me either.
We didn't have frogs.
No, if we had any frogs, we ate the frog
We
legs.
never even had the tools.
Never had the tools.
We never even had the Bunsen burner.
We had a Bunsen burner sitting up there and nothing, no gas. This was just sitting there.
Right.
Wasn't no gas and nothing to hook.
Well, all of those things had come from the white schools, remember?
Mm-hmm.
But they hadn't given us, the school board hadn't given us, the gas or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just sitting up there, and I think Mr. Dandridge did have a bunch of, animals preserved in jars and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's because we didn't have the, have the stuff to help,
Right. Right.
So, and same way with shop. Mr. Fleming had all of these tools and everything, but no lumber.
No lumber.
So,
Well, that's the way we started off. In 1938, 37, the parent and teachers approached the school board, and asked them to start a high school because Stewart cut out the high school program then that year. And they went and asked the board, said, will you start a high school for African Americans here in Jefferson County? Said, because Stewart doesn't have the program anymore, and we got all these people graduating from the 8th grade this year, and no place to go. And the school board told them, well, we can't do anything now. So they came back. My grandmother was hooked up in it, and I think your mother, and all of them. And they came back and they met again. And they said nothing to do but to approach the school board again, because these kids, it was around 60-some of them that had graduated 8th grade from East Side, Grandview, and all those other schools that were out there. They went back the second time, and they said, we're in a depression, and we probably getting ready to go into war. And they say, if you can figure a way to start the school, say, go ahead. School board didn't start it. These parents, what happened was, you take people like Miss Annie Watkins, who taught us West Virginia history and all that. She could teach high school social studies. Mr. Damage could teach high school physics, chemistry, and all that. But they were right there. Mr. Stewart could teach you trigonometry, geometry, you know what I mean? And Miss Johnson could teach you English. She knew language. And these people here had already prepared, them teachers were ready. So they could teach elementary and high school, you see. And that's how they got the high school started. And then we were all in the same building. So they went back around in 39 or 1940. They went back to the board and said, the school's just too crowded. Everybody was in this one elementary building. And they said, can you put some additional rooms on our bill of school for the high school? And they said, right now, because we get ready to go into war, say, we might squeeze it in for you. So what, that annex we got on there, they started that in 1941, just before the war. War broke out December 7th. And they started it. So the school board, they said, well, maybe we can squeeze this in just before, because after the war broke out, we're not going to be able to do anything. So they started in 41, and in 1942, spring, or after Christmas of 1942, that's when that first class entered into that new annex. Remember?
I remember, yeah.
It was 1942. But Miss Bertha Fox and all of them, see, they were seniors that year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved in it right after Christmas.
Okay, I was under the impression that it was opposite. So that first class, graduation class, really spent all the time in elementary school.
And elementary school until the second, second part of the
okay.
year. When you see that picture with when she come out and ring to me, that was 42. They just had completed it.
I can remember it. I can remember it real well, that new part there. It was nice.
I remember because Talbot hit me with a snowball.
But the only thing they didn't do, Jim,
Huh?
the only thing they didn't do, they didn't add no bathroom to it. Because we
No.
still had that one old bathroom.
Yeah, we went with the kids.
With the
we went
kids?
there with the kids.
I think there was 2 commodes, and the staff and everyone.
I
used
can
the
still
same-
see it. I can still see that bathroom.
Oh, I can too.
Yeah.
There was 1 or 2 sinks there, and the urinal, that was
Yeah,
That was
and I can
it.
see the water fountain.
Yeah.
The little teeny water
Yeah.
fountain. They didn't have, that's right, they didn't have
They didn't
water.
have water in that
No,
section.
And had a library with few books, just a few books, and that was for elementary and high school.
Right, but you know how they got the books? When they started the high school, they had the parents and people in the community gave them books and newspapers and magazines. That's what they used for the library when they first started. And somebody up there, you might know, who had a blacksmith shop right on Eagle Avenue
Right.
ground.
Yeah.
You might know him. You might what his name, I forget who it was. Anyway, he fixed that up so the boys could have shop. And the school board hired WPA teachers. Miss Epps, remember her?
Yeah.
She was a WPA teacher, and I think Mr. Dennis was. That taught, industrial work and all that.
Yeah.
That's where we started.
And that's right up there next to the railroad tracks where we had the Victory Garden.
Right,
oh
right,
yeah, I
right,
remember
right,
Victory Garden. Yeah.
right.
The Victory Garden.
right, right.
So,
And you know what? The food, parents used to bring food in. They'd bring food in from the country, out
Yeah.
there in different places, and bring potatoes and all that stuff. The board wasn't ready for us. They told us that school was started by teachers and parents.
yeah.
I don't think the board ever was ready back in those days for us. I guess the most humiliating thing I can think of when I was in high school, and I finished in '53, was our commencement exercise. The superintendent didn't even think enough of us as individuals to give us our individual diploma. In other words, there were 21 in our class. And all he did was took a diploma here and gave it this person, that person, that person. I may have yours, you may have Talbot, and so on. And then after we got off stage, we opened up, and then we had to go and give it to that person. I never forget
Yeah,
that.
they didn't want to be there.
No, they didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that because I was worried that I wasn't going to graduate. Because Mr. King said, some of you are not going to graduate today. You walk across the stage, and I just knew I didn't have none. So,
Years later, they made, you guys, y'all really did this and that. But they didn't encourage us to do anything. They never encouraged us, man, because they thought probably that we were just going to wind up being farmers, working orchards, and that type of stuff.
they didn't encourage the football teams, did they? Or the basketball team? Well, it didn't, because we had to practice in the shop. They didn't encourage us. Or
That's right.
support us.
That's right. Yeah, but we practiced down in the barn at Hubbard's Ferry.
Right, we had to hitchhike, ride on.
They just didn't think that we would ever do anything, I guess. I guess they thought we'd follow the same pattern that the parents and grandparents and all followed,
Well, that same attitude persisted, in the 40s, and of course, during the 50s, right after the 1954 decision. The school board had never been interested in education for blacks. So, and then when you look at where the schools are situated, right next to the railroad track. In Shepherdstown, it was out of town, wasn't too far from the railroad track, and it was kind of, they had to build a new one over there. So
But we know one thing, Torbert. Most of those back in those days, the 40s, the parents didn't have much education,
yeah,
but they really push education. You know, I
yeah.
think about how they have PTA. The parents are always there. They have program parents over there. Jim, I think about your mother. Now she grabbed that. She took our class at the first grade, and she more or less monitored us from the first grade to 12th grade. Anything our class needs, she was there. Other classes had the very same thing.
Yeah.
And you know, lots of these mothers, you know, they were working. They
Yeah.
were working mothers.
Yeah.
And lots of them never even been out of high school their own. Well, they wasn't out of high school, lots of them.
Yeah, I know.
But they really realized that we had to get education, and they really supplement what the school didn't give to us.
Right.